I don't want to be on disability. I would give anything if I could have a day in the life of working as who I was before. I want to be able to hold all my grandbabies without being tired.
I came home one evening and she used the phrase that I don't want to live anymore. So I said, pack your stuff, we're going to the hospital.
16.3 million people, around 8% of working-age Americans, currently have long COVID. To put that number into perspective, nearly 1 million people are living with multiple sclerosis in the United States, 1.2 million have HIV, and 1.7 million are diagnosed with cancer each year. Beyond the physical and emotional burden, the bills just keep piling up.
Co-insurance $4,200 plus you paid $2,400 in co-pays.
And $985 in deductibles.
I mean, how much is in our bank account? We're okay.
I mean, not like we used to be okay. You can't lose your job or get sick. It just makes me sad. I want to be a nurse. I don't have that quick thinking. I can barely remember what I did with paperwork from yesterday.
Americans suffering from long COVID have cut back work hours, switched roles and industries to accommodate remote work, sometimes reducing their salaries or retiring earlier than planned. As many as 4 million people are likely out of work due to long COVID. According to one study, long COVID could cost the U.S. $3.7 trillion, more than $2 trillion for the cost of reduced quality of life, nearly $1 trillion for reduced earnings, and roughly $500 billion for increased medical spending.
Do we know enough now to believe that long COVID is a serious problem? That is an unequivocal yes.
This is called Florinef. It's for my blood pressure. This is for depression. Folic acid, methotrexate. I take Xanax as needed. Prednisone, trazodone to help me sleep at night.
This is Jennifer Ramey. She got COVID-19 in December 2020, and unlike most, she never recovered. She was a nurse for nearly 30 years and hasn't been able to return to the job she loved.
It was completely part of me. I came home and would work on the weekends. I was size 4. I watched what I ate. I had no diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So I would record when I went to go see a doctor, talk about the recent fall I had.
The beginning, when things were at their worst, she would mix words. She would say things backwards. No one wants their spouse to be disabled. No one wishes this on the person that they love.
The number of people with long COVID in the United States is estimated to be between 7.7 million and 23 million people. The illness is often compared to myalgic encephalomyelitis or chronic fatigue syndrome, known as ME/CFS. Those with ME/CFS might not look ill, but have overwhelming fatigue and are unable to do simple tasks they could before.
It isn't just like, oh, I feel tired. These patients have a fatigue that really impacts their life.
This is Dr. Monica Verduzco Gutierrez. She sees more than 500 long COVID patients from all over Texas here at UT Health in San Antonio.
The other thing is that they have something that's called post-exertional malaise or post-exertional symptom exacerbation, which means they can do an activity that they could normally do before, and that would be considered completely normal, and it would cause a severe crash. And then they may be in a bed for, 3 weeks after that. So a lot of physicians don't have those kinds of knowledge on how to treat patients with those conditions.
An NBC News investigation discovered many are routinely being denied disability benefits despite being unable to work.
As long as one or more major life activities is substantially limited, long COVID can be a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. But getting approved for disability insurance can be problematic, with long COVID like ME/CFS poorly understood and difficult to measure. Aside from seeing patients, Dr. Gutierrez spends her days filling out disability paperwork and writing appeal letters for her patients. Her next available appointment is in April 2023.
Saturday we got the letter, it got denied, and then today I got the call from our insurance that it was denied, and then they're going to try for an appeal.
Dr. Gutierrez sees patients at 2 long COVID clinics she helped establish in 2020. She says many doctors are not aware of the exams to test for long COVID or don't have the proper training or access.
Let's go like this, pinky to pinky. Keep your pinky out.
For patients who are able to get in line for these tests, there are often months-long waiting lists, or in many cases, they're not covered by insurance.
I've asked him, there has to be a procedure that can make me deaf. Like, not even joking, like, I don't want to hear any noise ever.
Is it ringing or just magnified?
Magnifying. I could hear every single thing, like just like hearing the air condition right now. But I hear it like it's just right in my ear.
A lot of physicians, a lot of people want a definite diagnostic test or something to definitely be wrong. But you don't always have to have this XYZ lab that's abnormal, or at least we don't have that yet.
Disability insurance differs based on each employer's policy and state laws. If an applicant is denied or hits the maximum time protected, then the employee can apply for Social Security Administration disability benefits, or SSDI. A decision can take anywhere from 3 months to a year or more, leaving those without other means of disability insurance no job protection. Awaiting a decision can have serious repercussions. Pre-pandemic data shows that 1.3% of applicants declared bankruptcy and 1.2% of applicants died before even receiving a decision.
Based on a review of your health problems, you do not qualify for benefits on this claim.
While Ramey had short and then long-term disability through her employer from the time she got sick in December 2020 through October 2021, she applied for SSDI in October 2021. She received her denial letter in August 2022.
It says on every paperwork, I cannot do any task without being at a risk for passing out or stroke. And I really was just going to give up. I was just like, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm tired. And he said, no, we're getting an attorney.
Ramey tried to go back to work in February 2022, but that didn't go as planned.
This is someone that was a 100-mile-per-hour nurse prior to this, and she ran several marathons and climbed mountains. And this is someone who now is on medications for her immune system to help calm her immune system. Give me a deep breath. Then this is what's also happening to her on physical exam and her blood pressure and her fatigue and everything else, and still being denied disability. It's just, mind-blowing.
Dr. Gutierrez has patients who couldn't afford coming back to see her because they'd lost their insurance. And then they were denied SSDI because they hadn't been to a doctor's office. It's a catch-22. Have any of your patients been able to get SSDI?
Like 2.
Gopi Shah Goda at the Stanford Institute for Economic Policy Research found that Americans who were out of work due to COVID-19 for a week were 7 percentage points less likely to be in the labor force a year later, compared to those who didn't miss a week of work for health reasons. Combining this effect with reductions in earnings and hours amounts to an 18% overall reduction in earnings on average.
This is pretty significant. This includes the fact that some people are not working any longer. Some other people may still be working, but working reduced hours, or still be working, but working in a different job.
Just breathe normal.
35-year-old Michael Bryan is one of them. He first got COVID-19 in September 2020.
Everyone was saying, 2 weeks are the worst, you'll get better afterwards, except I never really got better.
Bryan was working at Wells Fargo when he went on short-term disability. He was initially denied long-term disability, but won his appeal. Then when his benefits ran out in March 2022, his appeal was denied. The letter from Lincoln Financial includes a chart comparing his reported and observed activity.
They had surveillance of me driving. I guess they felt I was able-bodied to work because I picked some pieces up from my yard or I ran an errand. Them not knowing that errand was probably the only errand I ran all week because I had been saving up energy to run that one errand.
In September 2021, he was also denied SSDI. The letter stating doctors hired by the state determined he's not disabled under the Social Security Administration's rules. A common reason for disability denials Dr. Gutierrez has been seeing is that patients might not be able to go back to the job they had, but they can do something else. She says for many of her patients, that's not the case.
He did have an abnormal test. He had an EMG test that showed a myopathy, which means, inflammation in the muscles. Yes, maybe he could do an activity, but he can't push himself, because if he does push himself too much, then he crashes.
That's probably one of the toughest things about long COVID is having people believe or understand, because it's not like a broken arm where I can show them. It's something invisible.
Brian left his job in September 2022 and is now working at Citibank. But he recently got COVID-19 again and is currently on unpaid leave.
It's eating away at whatever savings I had built up, and I do have a family. We do have rent that's due, so it's been very difficult.
The number of people out of work due to long COVID isn't even factoring in caretakers like Lon Ramey. With his wife unable to work, he had to switch jobs, a roughly $100,000 pay cut.
I know she's there. She's still who I married, but to see someone who was so functional before all this basically totally rely on me has been a big change.
That's the only time I feel completely safe is when he's home.
And just like COVID-19, long COVID is expected to have a greater impact on vulnerable communities. Minorities are disproportionately affected by chronic medical conditions and are more likely to be predisposed to worse outcomes.
We know that these are the groups that have less wealth and lower income, which means they have less access to healthcare and they don't have the financial cushion to take time off when they need it.
While researchers have estimates, the exact burden of long COVID now and moving forward is unknown. There's so much left to be understood, and the data is still sparse, leaving many researchers unable to make conclusive estimates. Until June 2022, there wasn't a nationwide record of the number of people with long COVID. The CDC only recently worked with the U.S. Census Bureau to add questions to the Household Pulse Survey.
It's like a slap in the face every time, something that can treat my illness or help my illness keeps getting denied by insurance because there's not enough data.
Dr. Gutierrez says there's also not nearly enough education. Some people might not even know they're suffering from the illness. Meanwhile, it's not just patients who feel they're being left behind, it's their doctors too.
It's frustrating, it's tiring to do all this paperwork and do more work than we're used to doing in regards to how much fighting we have to do to get things for patients. It's hard.
In February and July of 2022, Dr. Gutierrez spoke before Congress to get more support for clinics, research, and patients with long COVID.
This is not a 10-minute hi-bye visit. These are long, time-consuming visits that there's even more work to do on the other side. We're just not really awarded for that in the current medical system that we are for this kind of complex care for patients.
In December 2020, Congress provided $1.15 billion in funding over 4 years for the National Institutes of Health to support research into the prolonged health consequences of COVID-19. But researchers say more is needed.
$1.15 billion sounds like a lot of money until you look at the lower bound was of just lost wages, and that was more than $50 billion a year. We need a concerted, centralized focus on these conditions, on long COVID, on ME/CFS.
While we don't know all the answers, what we do know is that long COVID is altering the United States labor force, economy, and the lives of those affected for the foreseeable future. And the impact could be long-lasting. Long spells of unemployment can lead to degradation of skills and make it harder for those suffering now to return to the labor force later. That is, if they survive. Survivor Corps, an advocacy group for long COVID patients, polled its membership in May and found that 44% of nearly 200 respondents said they'd considered suicide.
Whether it be, the denials, the gaslighting, the gatekeeping, feeling that they're not themselves anymore, have these symptoms that are bothering them, that's really driving them to kill themselves, unfortunately.
My mom committed suicide, so I've always been a big suicide advocate, but when you keep getting denied and denied and denied, it makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. I definitely don't want to put my kids or grandkids or him through that, but I also am tired of deteriorating